Behind the scenes of the creator economy, there's a platform quietly powering some of the biggest creators, Kajabi. With more than 10 billion paid out to creators, it's a force you can't ignore. On the business of creators, I dive into the surprising data that shows just how creators are scaling on the platform.
You only need to have around 10,000, 1 to 10,000 followers, 4,000 people on your email list, and 300 people paying you to have a six-figure business because you're exchanging value.
Fernando, VP of Marketing at Kajabi, explains what it takes to be successful.
They don't think of themselves necessarily first as creators. They're in the mindset that they're a CEO and an entrepreneur.
We're also joined by Dominique Broadway, one of the leading creators on Kajabi.
We did about 66 sales in about 12 minutes. And it was about $1,000 a pop. So it was about $66,000 was our very first launch. After that, we went on to, continue to our biggest month. I think we did about 1.2 million in a month.
Dominique lays out some invaluable tips for creators.
If I was brand new, starting from scratch, I would definitely lead with communities.
From product to pricing, we cover it all. If you're serious about growing as a creator, this is one episode you can't afford to skip. So Allie, Kajabi creators have collectively earned 10 billion. What makes Kajabi so successful?
Yeah, we are so excited that we just in the last week announced that Kajabi creators have surpassed the 10 billion in creator revenue mark on the platform. And it's been an awesome celebration. I will say that, to your question around like how have creators had so much success on the platform, I really think that we saw this shift, especially during the pandemic and during the COVID years, of people turning online and thinking about how can I turn my knowledge, experience, and expertise into a product that I can sell to my audience. And so over the past 5 years, but really Kajabi's been around for almost 15 now, we've really seen creators embrace this sort of ownership model, as we call it, and they are shifting to wanting to own their audiences both on social platforms and on platforms like Kajabi. And figuring out how to monetize that with digital products. And when we say digital products, we mean things like courses, membership sites, communities, podcasts, newsletters, coaching, really any way you can package up and sell your knowledge online, you can do that on Kajabi. And so I think what has been really interesting, and we've noticed this kind of trend over the last couple of years, and why I think we've seen creators reach the 10 billion mark is not only are they getting smarter about digital products as a whole, but they're also thinking about new revenue streams like communities specifically. We've seen a huge shift in the market from just online courses to thinking about things like subscription services and how creators can continuously earn through valuable products like communities and memberships. And so I do think that we're going to be seeing more and more of that as the years go by, especially as AI enters the chat, if you will. We're going to see creators really leaning into community and thinking about how they can create valuable experiences for their audiences and continue to exchange value through that medium.
That's great. Well, I'm really excited to get into some of the detail of that. Now, Dominique, you've built a powerful business teaching finance on Kajabi. What first made you choose Kajabi?
So originally what made me choose Kajabi, I had a few friends that were on Kajabi. And then as I was starting to build out my course, I had launched it on another platform. And as we were building out the course, we realized that the functionalities that we needed, which was making the course like easy to go through, having quizzes, just easy to follow, other platforms didn't have, and Kajabi had that. So that was really the initial reason, outside of the affordable cost, which was great. So like those two things combined is what made us pick Kajabi and leave the previous course platform that we were on.
That's great. I'm really keen to learn more about your business. Can you share what sort of business model do you have on the platform? Is it courses or memberships or coaching?
Yeah. So our business model is primarily membership and courses. So we don't really do as much like one-on-one coaching. In our coaching that we do, we consider it more groups. So we don't necessarily, like I said, do the one-on-one. It's more in the groups and the memberships in the community. So all of our online courses and digital products are hosted on Kajabi. And so when we first started, it was really just selling kind of like the one-off courses and not necessarily as focused on the membership. It was more of a cohort model versus now we're kind of leaning more, just like as Allie just said, we're leaning more towards that ongoing membership and community model.
Excellent. Cool. Well, Ali, I've seen some really fascinating data from Kajabi recently, so I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Apparently, the average six-figure Kajabi creator has between 1 to 10,000 followers, email lists of 4,000 people, and just 309 paying customers for their digital products. How should the listeners think about the difference between a Kajabi creator and a more traditional creator?
Yeah, totally. Aren't those numbers just like mind blowing? I think
Yes.
I hear it all the time from creators who have never launched a digital product that they think, oh my goodness, I need to have hundreds of thousands of followers or millions of followers to make a substantial living on social media. And while that might be true for things like brand deals, AdSense, and affiliates, it's certainly not the case for digital products. And so when I think about how Kajabi creators and Kajabi entrepreneurs are different than a traditional creator, it's that they don't rely on those monetization mechanisms. And I mentioned this phrase earlier, but they really are in the business of ownership. And so we kind of think of this idea of building your audience on social and building your business on a platform like Kajabi. And what that means is social media, just like any other company in the world, is a top of funnel audience generator for creators to build relationships, camaraderie, and build value with their target audience. And then the way that our creators have been able to make six figures and beyond is by moving those people from social, just like passive social media followers, into engaged social media followers, into an email list that they own. And then they can sell a digital product of any size or value to that engaged email list. And so I really think that the like key shift for creators from the like traditional brand deal affiliate AdSense model is a model of ownership, and also thinking of themselves as true business owners, CEOs, and entrepreneurs. Whereas the traditional models of monetization are all about eyeballs and getting as many eyeballs as you possibly can. Hence why people think they need millions of followers to make revenue. This model is more about value. And so it kind of shows in the data that you only need to have around 10,000, 1 to 10,000 followers, 4,000 people on your email list, and 300 people paying you to have a six-figure business because you're exchanging value.
Makes absolute sense. And another piece of data I saw were that the average six-figure earners, they have 5 revenue streams, and bundles earn 4.5 times more than single offer creators. So why is bundling so effective?
Yeah, I mean, even take someone like Dominique, like when you think about as a creator, like you're trying to find product market fit, right? And so you launch a first product, and let's say it's a course, and you launch it to your most engaged followers who are on your email list, and it probably goes extremely well. And then you think about, how do I continue to support those and future audience members in a journey? And so we think of it as what we call like a customer value ladder. And so you might have, started out with a course, but then how do you take those people who took your course and either sell them another course that's solving a new problem, or maybe it's those members who have taken a course are dying to connect with other members who have also taken the course. And so maybe you think about launching a community, or maybe you have a community and a course, and your audience really wants to hear more from you on a regular basis in a different format, like a written format. And so launching a newsletter might be the best next step. And so it's really about like, I think the creators who see the most success, it's maybe not necessarily just because they have 5 revenue streams or they have bundles of products, but it's because they're listening to their audience and what their audience wants, and they're creating new opportunities, new products, new services to meet their audience where they are. And so what that means is they end up with, 4 or 5 digital products, but really it's because they're answering the call that their community is putting out.
Got it. Got it. And Dominique, when you're launching a new product, how do you think about the pricing of that?
Yeah, so there's a couple things that go into play. You want to think about like the value that you're providing, right? And I think that's, the biggest piece is like, hey, we're providing this amount of value, and if people actually come in and do the things that we're telling them to do within the course, how much could that impact their lives, right? So sometimes we may do a simple calculation saying, hey, if people come in, let's say with our investing courses, and they're starting to invest even $1,000 a month, which ends up being $12,000 a year into their investment account, and they're seeing 20% return, these people could, have, my math is going to be wrong, but like, maybe make $15,000, $20,000 extra in a year, if not more, when they learn to trade. We have students who come in and are making that in a month, $10,000 in a month. So if we're pricing pricing our course, we think about, well, based on the value that we're bringing and how much they could actually even make, and not just them, but their children, and how all that, kind of trickles down once they learn these strategies. And then we're saying, well, what would be a good price for that, right? So even if it's, hey, we're charging, 10% or 20% of what they could even make, a lot of times we're kind of breaking it down that way. So when we're creating that value ladder, like saying, hey, you're going to get this, but it also can equate to you bring in X amount of dollars every month. This could equate to your children becoming a millionaire by the age of 21. Then if we're throwing out a price like $1,000 a year or $5,000 a year, that's nothing, right? So that's how a lot of times we are calculating and determining the best price for our products.
Okay, that makes absolute sense. And do you remember your first customer? It must have been a good feeling.
Yeah. So my first customer, and I'll say on the Kajabi platform, we had originally had, like I said, launched our program that we originally put on Kajabi on another platform. But we were literally on this other platform for like 2 weeks before we moved to Kajabi. So we literally moved all of them over. We're like, this isn't going to work. We did about 66 sales in about 12 minutes. And it was about $1,000 a pop. So it was about $66,000 was our very first launch. After that, we went on to, continue to our biggest month. I think we did about 1.2 million in a month. So, but yes, the first customer, I don't know, because they kind of all rushed in at the same time. But that first cohort, we call them cohort one. They every time, even sometimes on social, they're like, "Hey, it's cohort one checking in." It's always really cool just to see those people. And outside of that, because it's been, I guess maybe 5 years now, Allie, I believe, since I've been on Kajabi, the stories and testimonials that we're hearing, because it's not like, oh, I bought your course a week ago. Some people are like, I bought your course 5 years ago and I was able to put my kid through college. And so I was in a hair salon recently. She's like, this girl, she's like, oh my gosh, I didn't want to say anything, but I bought your course and went through everything. And I bought my first house a year and a half later. So we're hearing like real testimonies of like the work and seeing byproduct of the courses, that we're putting out. So that's really cool to see.
That's lovely to hear. And what do you think's been like the most important feature that scaled your community on Kajabi?
I think just having the courses laid out nicely, honestly. I think that Kajabi allows you to really, truly have your courses laid out in a way where it's kind of sticky. You want to come back, you want to see yourself making that progress. Also being able to have what I like to call, and I feel like they don't necessarily taunt this feature enough, but kind of having like that customer or client CMS all there, right? So I can go in, I can see, Allie, if she bought a course, what she bought, how much she's completed, how many of my courses she's purchased, the lifetime value of her, how much we've made from this one person over time. And it's been really cool as we're looking right now. We are restructuring the business. We can literally go back and see from the very first live free webinar or freebie that they took. We can see all the tags, right, from all the years. And we can see like, wow, this person has opted into, 15 of our free webinars and has not bought. Or maybe we need to figure out what type of offer can we make for this group who's taken all these webinars and have not. So I've really enjoyed that a lot within the platform. But outside of that, I think really just having all the tools in one place. I know they have the community feature now, which we're actually excited to start moving our students from an outside like kind of community place that we had into the Kajabi's community. So being able to have everything in one place is going to be even more dynamic for sure.
That's super interesting. And Ali, I want to jump back to another data point. So apparently nearly 1,800 Kajabi creators have hit millionaire status. What do you think separates the ones that do 6 figures to 7 figures? And I agree, what an amazing stat that is.
Yeah. And then I think we also mentioned that over 70 creators have earned more than $10 million, and a few have even gone over 100 million, which is just mind blowing.
Huge.
It's my next goal, the 100 million.
I love
I'm
it.
at 50 first. And
There you go. I honestly, like, it kind of piggybacks off of what Dominique was just saying, which is I think the creators who find the most success on Kajabi are one, I've said this already, but think of themselves as business owners. They don't think of themselves necessarily first as creators. They're in the mindset that they're a CEO and an entrepreneur. And what I think that means is they are very data driven. They are data oriented. They are thinking about the offers that they're making to their customers, the funnels that they're building, the email sequences that they send out. It's a lot of the things that we try as a brand to educate creators on, because I think there is a gap in the market right now where creators are so focused on the content that they don't even know that this side of the business exists. And no one is bridging that gap for them. No one is telling them, like, hey, actually, like, yes, you can be super great at the creator side of this and the content side, but there's also this whole other world that will help you generate cash flow to be able to go back and invest in the creative side. Because we know a lot of people want to just do the content, but they need capital to be able to do that. And so I do think that the people who go from 6 figures to 7 figures and beyond on Kajabi are the ones who are thinking about the data, the analytics, how they're kind of taking their customers on a journey. And maybe it's not the creator themselves thinking that, but they know, I need to be thinking about this, so I'm going to hire someone who can think about this. That's also something that I've seen historically. Dominique, you don't know this, but I quote you all the time, because
I get the tags all the time.
because I always say, like, you were talking we were at South by Southwest, I think, a couple of years ago, and you were on a panel for us, and you said this thing that just, like, is literally so profound. I seriously quote it all the time, which is, you said, I am not a creator, I am a salesperson, and I have a product that I know will change your life. To all the amazing stories you just talked about, you said, I have a product that I know will change your life, and so I'm going to do everything I can to show you the value of that product and get you to purchase it, because I know it's going to have an impact on your life. And I think if more creators thought like that, like, I have value to give to the world and I want to change someone's life through this value, therefore I'm going to learn how to sell you this product, they would be so much stronger business owners, and they would start to, like, really wrap their heads around this whole entrepreneur side of things. And so, yeah, I love that quote. You're like, I'm a salesperson, and yes, I create, but I'm also a salesperson.
Yeah.
I think I
Totally.
was actually at that panel as well at South by Southwest. So
There
I
you
do
go.
remember it too. But they're phenomenal stats, Allie. And what are the fastest growing categories on the platform?
Yeah. So we have our big three, which are health and wellness, business finance, and personal finance. So Dominique falls right within that category, and then personal development as well, which are the big three big buckets. I think it's like each one has done 1.3 to 1.9 maybe billion in each of those categories. But what's more interesting to me is the long tail of niches that we have is crazy. Like, if you can think it, there is a digital product for it. We have 6 figure creator teaching mushroom foraging. We have a 7 figure creator who, she's called the Doodle Lady, and her business is called the Doodle Institute, and she teaches people how to creative note take. We have Pink Posy, which is a paper flower making course where you can learn how to make paper flowers. Just, like, such fascinating. The other day we had a dinner, and there was a guy who's made so much money on Kajabi, and he teaches people how to make uranium investments. Just,
Mm.
like, very niche, very interesting. And yeah, so I really love that. Like, it doesn't matter how, big your industry is or how small and verticalized it is, there's a path for monetization.
Yeah.
And Dominique, I'm curious, if you were starting today, what would you do differently?
Good question. So if I was starting today, I would probably, I think I would do a lot of things the same, honestly. I think the one thing I would do completely differently was think about my business from a community aspect in the beginning. That's the one thing I would change. And because I think originally it was like, we're providing value, we're selling courses, and not even thinking about the community aspect. And I feel like over time, the community just started to grow naturally from what originally for us was cohorts. So if I was brand new starting today, we're actually restructuring, but if I was brand new starting from scratch, I would definitely lead with communities. And the interesting part is when I very first started my business, like 11 years ago, like originally started it, my business, I would host in-person personal finance or financial happy hours, because I'm like, I have to find my audience where I am, and I'm at happy hour Monday through Friday, and I'm at brunch on the weekend with my friends. So I need to find people where they are. And I think the interesting thing now is a lot of businesses are going back to that. So that's another thing that if I was starting now, I would be doing that again, getting people out from behind their computer and in person to create that in-person engagement and community. So those are probably two things that I would do, like kind of the same, but differently as well if I was starting from scratch.
Amazing. Very wise words there for emerging creators. And what's next for you?
Ooh, what's next? So We are kind of revamping our entire Finances Demystified brand. We're expanding. We just went from not just demystifying finances. We actually just launched our new AI demystified product. And I'm starting to partner with a lot of other experts, which I'm really excited about because I don't want to be the main expert behind our business. So bringing in other experts that can come and help us create dynamic content and reach new audiences and new topics. In addition to that, with our also talking about mentioning bundling earlier and listening to audiences, we also launched a AI driven, I guess you call it signal or hint platform. And so it gives people buy and sell signals to tell them when to buy and sell their investments. And it's been a great additional just kind of piece that we tack on in addition to like, hey, we have the courses, we have the education, but we have the tech piece as well. So those are a couple of the things that that we have coming down the pipeline amongst a few others, but yeah, those are a few.
Amazing. And Ali, it's 2025. I can't not ask you about AI. What are Kajabi doing around AI?
Yeah, so our philosophy around AI is quite simple in the sense that like we believe that AI should be the undertone for how the platform supports creators. And what we mean by that is we aren't in the business of just launching a shiny new feature and slapping AI on it and marketing it as that. We would actually rather create a platform that is fully integrated across the board utilizing AI technology. And so it to the creator, it's like I press one button and magic happens in the back end of my business so that I can free myself up to go think about the strategy, the content, all the things that sit on top of the platform. And so our view on this is over the next, 6, 8, 12 months, how do we make the platform more intuitive, more connective across the board so that the kind of like back end nuances of your business are taken care of by, again, a simple click of the button so that creators can really work in their zone of genius, which is creating content and selling that content and thinking about the strategy that sits on top of the business. And so we're working really, really hard on a couple of upcoming launches that, again, it's not going to be some flashy AI tool that we market as such, but rather like the platform itself will be built upon the foundations and principles of allowing creators to click a button and see how far it can go.
Makes absolute sense. Make it more effective for them.
Yeah.
And I saw another data point that the average six-figure Kajabi creator just works 4 days a week, which is really positive to hear. What do you think that tells us about mental health and sustainability?
Yeah, totally. For us, it's really interesting because not only do they work 4 days a week, but they also we've noticed that the average six-figure creator on Kajabi has a team of two or less. And what that means to me is actually a positive kind of signal that digital businesses require very little overhead. We already know that from the perspective of, when you launch a digital product, really all you need is a platform like Kajabi. Outside of that, maybe a team member to help you with the strategy or the funnels, or if you're not a designer, you maybe hire a designer. But outside of that, it's pretty much just you and the platform, and you can have a really successful business. And so for me, that's really exciting because I think it puts the control back into the creator's hands. And if you think about any other, business that is founded, like the founder is in the nitty gritty, they're doing the things. And I think that creators can do that as well. And to couple that with the data point of only working 4 days a week, but still making six figures, it's like, okay, so you can have a lean overhead business, you can have only work 4 days a week, and you can make six figures and have a really successful kind of trajectory of getting to seven figures. I mean, that's a business that I would want. I don't know why I work at Kajabi. I should be a creator, but I don't know any other business model that allows you to do that, quite frankly.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's amazing stats. Well, Ali, Dominique, thank you so much for your time. And one final question before we go. I guess on that note, if any emerging creators are listening, where would you advise them to start or how to think about becoming a creator?
Dominique, you want to go first?
Yeah, I would say about coming in a creator. I would say sit down and think about like we mentioned numerous times. What value can you provide? And a lot of times people are searching high and low for like, oh my gosh, how can I provide people value? And believe it or not, it's typically probably the thing that people are asking you, like your friends or family are asking you for help with all the time. For me, that was definitely the case. I previously did work like on Wall Street and stockbroker, all those things, but people were always asking me for financial advice. And no matter how many times I tried to separate myself from that industry, I just kept getting drawn back. And I realized that clearly what I have to say is helping people and giving them giving them value. So I would say think about the value you have. And then one more thing, or the value you can provide. And one more thing I would say is, especially as creators who are already kind of like in that content hamster wheel, like look at a platform like Kajabi, or think about, as you're thinking about that value, this is going to be another way to create multiple streams of income. And for a lot of content creators that I've met who are only creating content, they're upset when brands don't pay on time or the algorithm changes and they're not getting the check that they used to get. And that gets frustrating, right? And if you're trying to create a business, you can't create a business with that type of ebbs and flows in revenue. So think about how you can provide that value. And like I said, I love Kajabi. I think it's a great platform. But imagine if you were able to structure your business, have brand deals, have checks coming maybe from platforms or, YouTube, whatever. But then you also have this community or course that you're selling that's, maybe selling daily or weekly. It's going to relieve so much stress and give you even more creative freedom to create. Because we all know you can't create when you're stressed. Like, it just doesn't work. So that's what I would provide, the advice I would provide.
That's so good. I would plus one to everything Dominique said. She's the expert here. But I think two tactical things that I would also add on top of that is for creators who are just starting out, who are maybe creating content and maybe having some success with brand deals, but haven't even ever thought of digital products. I would say start an email list today. Like, however you can start to move people to a space where you own it. Start an email list, create a lead capture with some sort of free value in exchange for an email. Please, please, please do that. It's the key to how you're going to grow a sustainable, successful business. And then the second piece of advice is if you're a creator who is already has an email list, maybe you have a digital product or you have many, many tools in your business and you're thinking about how to scale to the next level, I would definitely recommend consolidation of tools. I think that a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we get really excited about shiny, new, exciting things. And we, at the end of the day, build this like kind of Frankenstein business that has a lot of different inputs into it. And in reality, the data tells us doesn't need to be that complicated. You can absolutely simplify. You can have an all-in-one platform like Kajabi, and you can have exponential success. So if you are a creator feeling like overwhelmed by the tech stack that you've created and you're doing substantial revenue, especially if you're in a platform where there is rev shares and you're doing substantial revenue, think about consolidation because your overhead really should not be that high in a digital product-based business.
Amazing. Well, great advice there. Allie, Dominique, thank you so much for your time. Excited to see the growth of your business.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for
Thank
having me.
you.